is Allison. I'm the Programs Outreach and Youth Services Manager here at Monterey County Free Libraries. Thank you for joining me today for another episode of Book Chat. Tonight I'm going to be chatting with you about a graphic memoir. It's a recent one. It is called Ducks, 2 Years in the Oil Sands, and it's by Kate Beaton. I had ordered this book for our system because I purchased the graphic novels for Monterey County Free Libraries, but didn't have a ton of interest, honestly, in reading it. I bought it because it was on a lot of bestseller lists. It had some interest around it, but I ended up picking it up because I kept seeing it everywhere. And people were talking about how it was such an interesting look at a sector of society that hasn't really been explored a lot from a female perspective. I also really like the author. I like her children's books. One of her books, The Princess and the Pony, is one of my favorite picture books. So I was interested to read this adult work. So as I said, it is a graphic memoir. It is pretty long. It clocks in at 430 pages. And a lot of people think because it's a graphic novel that means you can still go through it pretty fast, but this took me a few days to read. It examines the author's life when she was moving from her very small, close-knit community in Canada to a different lifestyle to try and earn money to pay off her student loans. And to do so, she had to do what a lot of people in her community and all over the world have to do, and that is relocate to somewhere with better opportunities. And the opportunities that she could find in her area were working in the oil sands. And so working in these very heavily male-dominated areas where she was really separated from her family and her friends. And in one particular case where she lived in this one area of camp, she actually lived in the camp in these dorms with a bunch of men. And it examines a lot of different themes from isolation and trying to fit in and trying to find your place in the world to what it's like to live in this male-dominated area. And in that, she experiences a lot of sexual assault and is actually raped during the course of this graphic memoir. And it talks and examines how she deals with that in a world where it's not something that you can talk about, and how she interacts with other females who are in this space. And it's just really interesting, the balance between her kind of realization that she's becoming independent by making her own money, living by herself, but also feeling heavily oppressed in the environment that she's in. And I thought that the ending was really haunting. I'm not gonna give it away fully, but it was the ending of this memoir really lasted with me, and it's after she gets out of this environment and moves on. She works in this field for 2 years while she pays off her student debts, and then moves on, and it kind of shows how the industry haunts her afterwards. What I also thought was really interesting is that in the afterword that she puts in, she talks a lot about how this is just her experience with this space, but she wants to acknowledge that this industry has had an incredibly horrible impact on First Nation, Indigenous Canadian populations. And she talks a lot about how that's not included in here because it's not her experience, but she does talk about it in the afterwards and how it's something that she tried to incorporate without making it too far away from her experience as a non-Indigenous person. And she says here, the oil sands operate on stolen lands. Their pollution, work camps, and ever-growing settler populations continue to have serious social, economic, cultural, environmental, and health consequences for the Indigenous communities in the region. I urge everyone to work to further listen and understand the history of the ongoing issues facing these First Nations. So she, gives that little head nod. And I think that's important that she didn't go away from her experience, because that would probably make the text read disingenuous, but does cite that there's a lot more issues going on with these camps than what she was talking about. And she gets pretty heavy with some of the issues. So it is a series of small stories. I read some reviews on Goodreads where people said they felt like it was pretty disjointed. And it can feel a little disjointed at times. But it's, her memories and her recollections of what was happening. So it also kind of makes sense that it would be a little disjointed. So in the end, I really ended up enjoying this graphic memoir. I thought it was worth reading. I'm glad that I picked it up in the end, and we have it in our collection. Again, that's Ducks, 2 Years in the Oil Sands by Kate Beaton, and I would highly recommend you check it out if you are interested in graphic memoirs. Thank you so much for joining me this evening, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye, everyone.